this is Dan here. I hope you're doing well today. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you 4 pentatonic funk bass slap exercises. Now, you can play them all together to make one big slap line. But what we're doing is we're using A minor pentatonic, which is this shape. We sometimes might use those 2 extra notes at the end. This is 1 octave. And certainly if you want to get your slap technique together, just using that shape and making up lots of different exercises and combinations of articulations and thumb and pop is a really good way to go. I'll show you more of that later, but the very first line goes exactly like this. The S stands for slap, but sometimes you'll see that written as a T, which is the thumb. And that's all this line is working on, it's just the thumb. And really we're looking at, there are lots of different ways of actually slapping and using the thumb, but what I'm doing is generally keeping my thumb quite parallel to the string and bouncing off the string. You can come through to the next string as well, but that's often used when you're doing double thumbing, where you go down and you come back up again. So I'm doing quite a traditional way, which is bouncing off the string. And that's what I'm working on. I'm working on really coordinating that hand and making it accurate, making that thumb accurate to whichever string I need. Once more. Tap your foot and nod your head, because there are a few notes that occur on offbeats. Okay, so it's like 3 and 4 and. So the ands, that's where you're hitting these notes. The other thing I'm concentrating on a lot is muting, because when you're slapping, this hand really is out of the equation when it comes to stopping notes. So what I'm doing here is I tend to use my little finger for anything that's on the 7th fret here. So first finger on the 5th fret, and that just keeps my wrist a bit straighter, but you can use your 3rd finger if you like. But what I'm doing is this. So the first couple of notes, I'm actually just draping this first finger across the A, D, and G strings, so that's muted now. And then when I go to the 5th fret of the A string, the D, I'm doing what guitarists do when they do rhythm guitar playing, which is basically using the first finger to mute everything. So I've got the tip of the first finger touching the underside of the E string, and also just, again, putting that first finger back to touch the D and the G. Now, that mutes those strings. So if I accidentally hit something with this hand, it doesn't really matter. See, there's nothing. And these other 3 fingers are also used to control things, but muting is absolutely crucial, especially when it comes to slap, but in all styles of bass playing. And then the same thing, I'm keeping my finger there even when I go to the 7th fret, and then moving string to the D string. And again, this time I've got my 2nd and 3rd fingers, the longer ones. They're not involved in fretting the 5th and 7th frets of the D string. I'm just using those fingers to control the E and A. That's really essential. If you didn't do that, you'd get something like... You'd get that, it's just a mess. So muting is really crucial. The next line, we've got just octaves. So if I'm on the 5th fret of the E string, that's the A, you just count 2 frets higher and 2 strings higher in pitch, and that's your octave pattern. Again, I'm using first finger for the lower note and little finger for the higher note to keep the wrist straight, but you can use your 3rd if you want. And I'm just using that pattern for everything. And it's thumb, pop. And those are 8th notes, so if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and that's the rhythm. And you've got to rest to do the shift. There's a lot of hand shifts here. What I'm doing again when I go to the A string is that tip of the first finger touching the E string to mute it again. Okay. Next time around it's the same. But instead of D to E octaves, it's E to D octaves. The little 2 dots at the end mean repeat. Okay. Next line. We have thumb with a little bit of rhythm, so it starts off exactly the same again. And then we have a little bit of 16th note. Let's go straight into that bit. So the little X means ghost note. So very slowly, this is the rhythm of that section. So all the rhythm there is coming from the thumb. One more time slowly. Now to do the ghost note, I'm just lifting off the 5th fret and just dampening the strings with actually all the fingers. Really gets a very, very tight, dead sound there. From the beginning. Now there is a process to learning something that's a bit difficult. So if you're struggling a bit with this, at the beginning I played along to a 120 beats per minute drum beat. I'll put a link below where you can download that for free just to practice. But don't bother with that or a metronome until you can do this at this sort of speed, which is really, really slow. It doesn't sound amazing when it's slow, but you need to be able to have the rhythm played well at that speed and also have all the techniques down. So just slow things down, okay? Especially for this last bit. So now we've got rhythm again, but this time with articulations, a lot more sharing of the load between the hands. So that last one, a lot of that is to do with the thumb here, but this next one, I'll play it first. A lot of the rhythms there coming from my fretting hand, my left hand. So we've got a hammer on from G to A, 5th fret to 7th fret D string. Use your little finger or 3rd finger, whichever one you prefer. And that's popped. And then immediately after that, you've got a hammer on frets 5 to 7 of the A string. So you've got the pop, thumb, and it really is that rhythm. So slow that down, just practice that one beat. And then the next beat, I'll slow that down. So that second beat on its own. You've got a pop on G, 5th fret, D string. It followed immediately by the thumb coming down on the D and the E, frets 5 and 7 of the A string. Then you've got an A, 5th fret. Combine those two. 4. 4. You might just cycle that round very slowly. And those are the last 2 A's, okay? Then the next bar is exactly the same. You just move this way. Move all the notes down one string towards the floor. Now here, I got a little bit of trouble with the E string ringing out, so just be a bit careful with that. Maybe use a bit of that second finger if you can to mute it. Maybe a little bit of the sort of heel of the hand here. But the aim is to make everything sound very clean and very controlled. Give you a bit of a different angle here. See how all the notes come from that A minor pentatonic shape. So once you have some of these down, you can feel free to use some of these other notes. Change rhythms. Every single one of those pentatonic notes just sounds really, really good when you're playing some kind of funk groove. So what I want you to do now is follow the link below. You can download this PDF and that drum beat for free. Take each line as it is, but if you do want the challenge of playing them all together, then they will all fit together. If you like these kinds of funky bass lines, then I've got a funk bass course and I'll put a link to that below. Thanks very much for watching and I'll see you on the next lesson.